I don't know that it would matter. I don't know how to get them. It's different numbers every time. Whatever. It's just annoying. Just annoying. Give me a minute here. What's going on here? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Not that. I need this. Not that. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Okay. So let me share my screen. Here's what I'm going to say mindset wise, real quick. Do the work and then ask questions. You will learn exponentially more by actually doing the work to reach out to, for example, 100 absentee owners than any amount of training, books, videos, et cetera, any amount of time spent here. As much as I love hanging out with you all here, do 100 and then come back with the actual problems, which I do have an actual problem that we're going to help solve for Susan. Then we're going to answer some questions that James shared last night. I'm going to share a text blast that I sent out through Bold Trail this morning and different ways that you might R&D that. I need to post a listing that just went live this morning. I posted it earlier in the week. I didn't show that though, because it was on Monday. I'll show the one from earlier in the week because I did something a little bit different with that one as the coming soon post. So I'll share that. I'll share, I had a reverse prospecting blast that went out this morning. I'll share that. And then I'm going to circle back at the end for the second question that Susan had asked me last night to dive a little deeper. So I spoke with Susan yesterday. Susan's one of our Founders Club members, and she was having some, she was hitting some hurdles, some roadblocks, some bumps in the road. One of which I'm not going to address here, though it will come up soon, in the sense that I'm going to use what she brought up as a way to share a bigger lesson that I think can all help us be more successful. So more to come on that. I'll just leave that as a little, a little open loop for everybody. But one specific thing she had asked, or another specific thing she had asked or mentioned, was that she had bait that she was using our 3-step blueprint. Find property to use as bait to then reach out to the active buyers to see if they're A, interested in that one, B, interested in other properties, or C, do you have any properties you might want to sell? And she had effectively been getting crickets. Susan, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You said you reached out to about 25 buyers, got one reply. Okay, so Susan's nodding her head yes.
Yes.
It was immediately apparent why. Like literally took me 3 seconds to identify why. And then as I thought about it more, there were other things that were uncovered as well. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful to both Susan and any of you here. And don't get stuck on the specific things that we're talking about with her example, but how can I apply these in other ways, marketing, conversationally, etc. So let me share my screen. Where is it? I always have this problem with finding the right window. It's not that one. Where is, there it is. There it is. Here we go. So this is the email and the text that Susan was sending out. Okay. I'm going to start by asking a clarifying question, which I think is important for you all to ask, which is, what does a duplex mean to you, Susan?
2 units in one building.
To me, that's a 2-unit. That is not a duplex. And the point I'm illustrating is we have our own vernacular as real estate professionals. And that vernacular may or may not match up with the general consumer. Now, this is not necessarily a general consumer in the sense that she's not reaching out to a retail buyer. She's reaching out to an investor buyer. And usually they have a different set of vocabulary than a general consumer. However, immediately for me, actually, I thought of this when we hung up last night because you had said that word a couple of times and I didn't clarify what you meant. Because what you described, I would describe in my market as a 2-unit. A duplex to me could also mean that, but more specifically for me, it is a side-by-side building. And so there are duplexes, quote unquote, marketed in my market where it's 1 unit, but it is half of a duplex. But they'll just refer to it as a duplex. Point being, simply changing the word from duplex to 2-unit, that alone may drastically change the response. Number one. Okay. So just the bigger takeaway is make sure that the words you're using in your marketing, in your advertising, are easily understood by the most people possible. And if you're using words or language that is potentially confusing, or I'll call it professional jargon, provide a definition with it. In other words, if you use a word that is relevant to, I'll use a different example. If I say USDA financing available, everybody on here probably knows what that means. Would a first-time home buyer know? Probably not. They might, but probably not. USDA financing available, parentheses, 0 down option, or something like that, right? So like connecting the dots further is important. And just generally speaking, in our texts, in our emails, in our communication, we should aim to communicate at a like 3rd to 5th grade level. It's just, you want to be easily understood, because a confused mind says what? No. And then they don't reply. I have to work too hard to do anything with this information. Next. Okay. So that was the first thing that came to mind. The second thing, immediately, and I'm just going to call a spade, and it's probably our fault, but there's a lesson here as well. The subject line sucks. And it's probably our fault because I think originally that was like the default buyer email originally in when Sean built this, because we were moving fast and just, filling in the boxes. But the takeaway is, whether it's with LeadDeck or anything, don't use the default ever. Like the default template of anything is certain to get you less response than you might otherwise get. I'll just put it that way. So what would you do instead with the subject line? I would say, for the recipient, for Susan, in parentheses, RE, off-market 2-unit in Noblesville. I might even say, if I believe this is a it's turnkey, it's fully rented, right, Susan? So for Susan, parentheses, RE, off-market 2-unit, off-market turnkey 2-unit in Noblesville. Now, that may or may not be something to do, because all of the words we use matter. When I say turnkey, it might mean that some of these folks won't be interested because they like properties where they can add value. It might mean that some of them are interested because they just want to acquire assets that are already income producing. If it were me, I probably wouldn't include turnkey because I want as many replies as possible. And if I fill in too many blanks for the recipient, they're less likely to be curious and respond. So if I leave out the fact that it's turnkey, that gives them another reason to reply, because they might clarify, are the units rented or are they currently vacant? What has now started? A conversation. Another example of this, or another illustration of this, to put in other context, is deal of the week email. Deal of the week email. The more information you put in that email, the more specific details you put in the email, the less responses you get. So if I put the price in my deal of the week email, immediately I get less responses, because that price creates a breaking point of, well, that's out of my price range. I'm not even going to ask. Whereas what we're trying to do with that email is start conversations. So we want to put enough information to create curiosity, but not so much that they can jump to their own conclusions as to whether or not it works. I can only imagine Stuart's conversation right now. I cannot wait to hear about Stuart's phone conversation whenever that is wrapped up.
Is he using his hands a lot?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is very animated. I love it. Campbell, is this directly related to this?
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
So I have a question.
Okay, Susan and then Campbell.
Okay, so when you're talking about, sorry, that was my phone ringing and I was unmuted. When you're talking about defining things and understanding things, when you're using the word turnkey, to me, for whatever reason in my mind, I've always thought that referred to the condition of a property. This one probably needs some updating.
That is a wonderful illustration of me breaking the thing that I was saying 5 minutes ago. You're proving my point by also proving me wrong and an idiot. So that is a wonderful illustration of what I'm. Well, no, but look, you're illustrating a wonderful point. So the right phrasing might be fully occupied, not turnkey. And also, I don't think I would include it either way, because that will provide an answer to a certain percentage of people that will cause them not to be interested or not to reply. And all we're trying to do is create a conversation, because we do not care. Well, let me take this back. In a perfect world, we want to send this email or send this text message and get the buyer for that property. That's in a perfect world. And also, we want to use that as an opportunity to have more conversations so we can find out, is this the type of properties that this person is interested in? Yes or no? If no, what type of properties are you interested? Oh, you're not interested in any currently. Oh, and do you have any that you might consider selling? So we can't get to that point unless the conversation is initiated. So I love that. Is a wonderful clarifying point. And reemphasizes the fact that choose the words you include or don't include very carefully. And I break this rule myself often, so I'm preaching to myself as much. Read your communications several times before you start using it. Let it sit for a minute or two and think through. Put yourself in their shoes. If I'm this person, how would I receive this communication?
I've got the hook for you, Josh.
Go ahead.
For that subject line, 2-unit off-market proven income generator. You're not telling them it's rented. You're just telling them it's proven. And now they got to ask questions. What do you mean it's a proven income generator?
Beautiful. Love it. So all of this just on the subject line. The big takeaways is in your subject line. With LeadDeck, we have the ability to personalize. So we should personalize, because the more you personalize, the more it feels like a one-to-one communication and not a generic blast that we all get and they probably get also. So we have to find ways to cut through and create a pattern interrupt. So for Susan, RE, off-market 2-unit already income producing, whatever. My only hesitation with income or cash or things like that is sometimes those are flags to spam. But the thing that I would want to include in the subject line is their name. It's off market, so we want to include that. Some description of what it is and the area. And the area. Noblesville, I think is where this one. Yeah.
Josh, what about proven track record? That gets you away from the cash.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we're splitting hairs there. The bigger, if she had just said for Susan, RE off market 2 unit in Noblesville, I guarantee she would have gotten exponentially more replies. Just that alone, because more people would have received it in their inbox. Therefore, more people would have opened it, and therefore there would have been more curiosity. So you can split hairs there, but to me, the non-negotiables would be make sure their name is in it and make sure something specific about the area is in it so that it that screams more relevancy to the recipient. Go ahead, Ken.
Josh, where do we find the custom fields on LeadDeck to use in that when we're using the template? Because I don't know where that exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally.
Okay, right there. Perfect.
Yep.
Because I like what you're saying, because I think if you put their name in the subject line and remove it from the body, you're going to get more open rate because people.
No, I think it should be in both places, but I'm saying it absolutely should be in the subject line. I mean, we're only at the subject line of this critique. I've got a lot more. And all of this, to me, if I were the person on the other line, it's like a million paper cuts. And so you can be doing, okay, I'm going to relate it back to the thing that I said at the beginning. Do 100 and then ask questions. Because if you do 100, and Susan asked questions after 25 because she has seen or heard other feedback contrary to what she was seeing. But most people, if you set out for 100 and you get to 25 and you're like, I think I'm doing something wrong because I'm not getting whatever, you're still way ahead than if you try and make everything perfect before you actually take the first step. Okay, so subject line, to reiterate, include first name, include the area or some area identifier, and then something else to create curiosity. I can't even imagine the conversation. I am dying to hear Stuart's conversation, dying to hear it. Anyway, moving on. In the body of the email, hi, first name, perfect, no big deal. I don't think this one is on the grand scheme of things probably irrelevant, and yet everything sort of matters. I wouldn't do line break. I would go hi, first name, comma, and I would just keep it going. We're all living on our phones. And what I want them to, in a perfect world, I want them to be able to open their email and see my full communication. And that means it has to be clear, concise, and not, stretching a big span. So I would say, hi, first name. Looks like you're a pretty active investor here in the Noblesville area, ... Are you looking for any deals right now? Or maybe know someone who would be, ? We have a fully rented off-market 2 unit in Noblesville. And if Noblesville has specific zip codes, I would, like if there's multiple zip codes, that's where I would put the specific zip code. In Noblesville, this zip. Interested, ? And that might be it. You might put the, please let me know either way. Now, some of this, again, is getting like pretty granular, let's say. But here's how I receive this first line. It's about me, meaning this is about Susan because she has a fully rented off-market duplex in Noblesville. I haven't even acknowledged them yet. And you actually don't have the fully rented off-market duplex because you don't own it. We have it. You with that seller. This number keeps calling. I hope it's not a scam call. Pause. Hello, this is Josh. What property?
1 Drexel Road, Harrisburg.
Oh, 701 Drexel?
Yes.
When did you request it?
I requested just a few minutes because I'm in.
Oh, yeah, that's probably not going to work. I mean, I'll let the owner know, but he's handling all the requests and taking the showings.
Oh, okay. Can you ask if I can 10:30 or 1:30?
1:30? Reschedule it for 1:30. He'll be able to make 1:30 work most likely. I very unlikely that he's going to be able to make it.
Yeah, I requested for 1:30 just in case.
Okay.
But I just called you to see if I can access to 10:30 if it's okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'll make sure that he got the request. I'll let him know that both of the requests are from the same person.
No, I just request 1:30. I'm just calling you
Oh.
if I can go 10:30.
Yeah, no. Yeah, let's go with the 1:30.
Okay. Ask him to confirm it for me so I
Okay.
let my buyer know. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Let me close the loop on that. And then I'm going to return to my rant. Where's Russ? Morning period. I think there was a request for 10:30 a.m. this morning. Or maybe she requested 1:30 and then was calling me to see if 10:30 would work. But regardless, someone would like to see it at 1:30. If that doesn't work, or you need me to request to reschedule, just let me know. Back here. My point about we versus I. We versus I. When the script that I use, the reply template or script that I use, when I have someone requesting more information about one of my listings, even that language, one of my listings, I mean, it is my listing, but I will say, hey, James, looks like you had requested more information about our listing at street address. Did you get all the info you were looking for? Question mark. When you say my versus our, it just feels different. And so a little thing, but compounded on top of everything else, it all matters. It all adds up. So, we've got a fully rented off-market 2-unit in Noblesville available. Just hits different. And what I know is if you have I have the fully rented, there will be some that ask you, is it yours? Like, are you selling it or what's the deal? When you have it just opens it up a little bit. The text message.
I think we also indicates that there's more than maybe one decision maker. And when we say I and my, it's like, the buck stops here. I get to decide. So it's just, again, it's like you said, the words are so important.
Yeah.
So can I jump in here? To me, talking about what things mean, we means that there's more than one of me, like I'm part of a team. I don't know why, again, that's...
Well, your email is Susan Roberts Group.
Right. So that's a lot.
Okay, well, hold on.
So I understand.
I mean, some of that is semantical, but we is right. You and the seller.
Yeah, I get that now.
Yeah.
I understand that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just pretend you're English, because they speak in we's a lot, an hour, like I would say, well, our Susan, da, 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 da. Well, you don't belong to me,
Yeah.
Got it.
Just as a general rule, when you're sending communication, I look for as many ways to eliminate the word I as possible, just as a general rule. Because when someone sees I, they immediately think, oh, this is about them. And we want them to receive communication as it being about the recipient, not the sender. And so sometimes it's unavoidable. Okay. There are communications that you have to send where you're going to have the word or the letter I in there. But usually there are ways that we can limit that. The text message, some of the same stuff already hit here. Hi, first name. This is Susan with eXp Realty, period. Looks like you're a pretty active investor in the Noblesville area, question mark. We've got an off-market 2-unit available in, and I would put the zip code again, assuming there are multiple zip codes. I would put that zip code so it makes it very specific. Interested, question mark. Know anyone who might be, question mark. Thanks. I have no idea how much more response or how many more replies you might have gotten that one versus this one. But I am fairly certain it would be more. The answer would be more. It's just a matter of how much more might that have been or be. And
Should I wait a few days and send out a revised version to the same people?
you could. In the meantime, did you hit everyone? In other words, you had you hit everybody in the bucket. Okay. And that was cash buyer or active landlord?
It was active landlords.
And you said this could use some work. Do you think, like, how realistic do you think the seller is on price?
I think the seller is realistic on price. I think his rents are too low. And it doesn't need major work. He's done all the major things. It just needs to be updated a little bit. I mean,
well, here's what I might do in the meantime. Pick a bucket of 10 cash buyers and send the revised script and see just from 10 what the difference in response rate is. And I would love to report back. And then what's today? Thursday? Monday, go back to, and how many was it, the active landlords?
I think it was like 26, 20.
Monday, go back, revise script, start from scratch, essentially. Okay. Any questions about that before I switch to my second topic for the morning? James emailed me last night. I have to find the email. Multiple inboxes is idiocy on my part, but whatever. There were essentially two questions in here. Number one is, what am I doing specifically to dispo when you get a cash offer request? James, that's correct. So someone requesting a cash offer to some degree, it could be them cold requesting, or it could be from your existing database, right?
Well, I get those emails through ProEdge. So somebody's hit high level somehow. And,
okay. But specifically that there's some indicator that their request was cash offer, not home value.
Exactly.
Okay. So different. And the reason why I'm clarifying is the intent can be different in those scenarios.
Right.
I have a smart campaign that I will break down. I'll put, oh, wait, I already have it. I think I do anyway. Either way, I will include with today's replay and this broken down session the sequence of emails. Here it is. Huh. The sequence. Oh, that's the postcard. Ah, okay. It is. Perfect. So this is a combination of direct mail, which you can, or, you can choose whether or not you want to do the direct mail portion of it. And then there is the email and text and just the action plans in general for this. And I will drop that in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. And this has proven for me to be very effective. This original is that correct? Is that right? I mean, you can use different words, but the intent the same. I'm confirming that it looks like you had requested more information. Is that right? Is that right? Because most cases you'll get a yes. Sometimes you get a no. What if they say no? Oh, really? I wonder, was it someone else that I requested, or maybe you were just interested in an updated value estimate? It doesn't happen often, but I do get some people that are like, no. And usually that's my pivot. Oh, really? That's weird. Because it looks like somebody at your address with your name requested an offer for this property. Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe you were just interested in getting an updated value. Oh my goodness, back and forth. This one listing, this guy drives me nuts. They asked if you can make two work. It's a reminder, like when you do, no good deed goes unpunished. I took this listing almost as a favor because I've known him forever. He's a contractor that helped when I was renovating properties in the late 2000s. And I've had it listed now forever. He's the one that coordinates the showings. He's also technology dinosaur. So he wants to manage those, but then I end up having, anyway, no good deed. Regardless, that would be my answer to your number one, James, is this sequence here. Your second question about the seller dashboard. I was going to clone the iList seller dashboard traffic campaign. That's what that one's called. Hold on. That's what this one is called?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. I guess I named it that because the intent of this campaign is to drive people to look at their seller dashboard, like their homeowner dashboard. This is a campaign you can clone, but it's not intended to be a smart campaign. What does that mean? To clone the templates, you have to create a campaign. So I had to create a campaign to be able to make it easy to clone them. I can't clone individual emails, texts, etc. I do not run it as a campaign though. I schedule email to go out. I manually do the text blast. That's step 2 of the process. And then I manually do step 3 of the process, which is where the money is at. So though it is a smart campaign when you clone it, it's not intended to be something that you just turn on and add people to. It is a wonderful illustration of the divergent paths of fully automating things and manual work. And for most people, myself included, more often than not, based upon the goal, meaning whatever your goal is, number of transactions per week, per month, per quarter, per year, if you relied less on automation and fancy tools and so forth, and were more strategic about who and how you're reaching out and following up, etc., you will get to the number of conversations you need to get to that target. In other words, more narrow and deep versus wide and shallow.
Can I ask a request, Josh?
Sure.
Would you teach a class on that?
On what?
On just that topic right there of how you're doing that.
How I'm doing this?
Yes. I think that would be something that a lot of us would find beneficial, of going in and going through your sequencing of what you're doing here and your thought process. You could record it and have it for future use, but I think there are a lot of us, myself included, who'd love to attend that for 60 minutes or so, just to get your thought
the
process.
problem is I can't do it in one session because it takes a week. But and I have it documented numerous places. I just need to figure out the most logical place to pull from to organize it.
Yeah, if you can put it together, even in a document or something along those lines, I think it'd be helpful for a lot of people. I'd love to see it.
Let me think through. Here's what I would love to do. The next time I run it, I will record what it looks like throughout the week. We'll organize that, and then we'll do a debrief after the fact, walking through the steps. Reason I'm saying that and going down that path is as follows. On Monday, I scheduled the email to go out because in Bold Trail, you have to schedule emails when you're doing the mass email tool. You have to schedule them 24 hours in advance. And I like this hitting Tuesday or Wednesday. So in a perfect world, I schedule that Monday morning. I'll record a tutorial of what that looks like. Tuesday morning, let's say that is scheduled to hit at 9:30. In a perfect world, I will send the bump text later that morning, 10:30, 11 a.m. I will record myself doing that. Then Wednesday and Thursday, the work is in following up with the third step, which is the money email, quote unquote, to the people that have landed on their dashboard. When did I do this last? I did it this month. So that will happen. I will document that March 2nd, the week of March 2nd. You all hold me accountable to that, please. Actually, yeah, so that's perfect. That'll be a full regular week of Closers Cafe. We'll earmark that to that being the leading topic. So when I jump on 9:30 a.m. March 2nd, or somewhere, I'll probably have a Monday, mindset thing. But soon thereafter, I will schedule that email to go out, which will go out 10 a.m. Tuesday morning. Then on Tuesday's session, towards the end, I'll do the bump text. Then on Wednesday's session and Thursday of that week, I'll show the follow-up and that because that's where most of the money is. Now, you will uncover opportunity with the bump text. The problem is, for me, the bump text only goes to about a third of the people that are getting the email because I only have a third of them that I have a cell phone and they're still subscribed to text. So I use what I have, but I make the best of what I don't, etc. So I think that's a great idea. And March 2nd is when I will document that fresh.
Thank you for doing that. I know you've gone over this before. I'm like, sometimes it just doesn't sink in until I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 0 to 1 is the hardest, right? Until you actually implement that. If you're doing the same strategy in Go High Level, I would absolutely drip out the emails and the texts. In Bold Trail, I can't really do that. So whatever. But if you're using Go High Level, whether you're using Pro Edge or some version of that, and that's what you're delivering this through, do not set it up as a campaign that it's going to blast 1,200 email addresses at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Set it out so that I think now the email, the minimum you can do is, like, you used to be able to drip out 1 a minute, but I think they changed that. And now for an email, I think it's 5 every 5 minutes is how I schedule that, which this is a perfect jumping off point, actually, to something else I had on my list, which is this morning, I went and pulled my reverse prospecting list for a listing that I had just go live, and I added the contacts in here. I have all of this documented. But the reason I'm bringing up is I scheduled them, the text messages. You can still schedule text messages 1 every minute, but the emails are 1 every 5 or 5 every 5 is, I don't know why they changed that. But right here, you can see this is a text message. This is the text that went out. Hey, Susan, it's Josh with EXP. I don't know why I didn't put Realty. It was early, I guess. I don't know. I usually put Realty, but whatever. Seems like you have a client who might be interested in our listing. See, our, not my, our new listing. That would have been really embarrassing if it said my new listing after my rant earlier. Our new listing at 1313 Carnegie Way. And I put in parentheses, it's a carriage home in Arcona. So Arcona is the community. And in Arcona, there are single family homes, there are townhomes, there are condos, and there are carriage homes. So that was relevant to this. Like, I don't always have that level of specificity, but if they have someone who's looking in Arcona, they may immediately say yes or no because carriage home, but whatever. Client ID is, which in Bright, the client ID is the way they can look up who the contact is. Because if Terrell has a contact that's set up on a search alert, I can't see Terrell's the person's name because, I mean, obviously they don't want agents like sniping people's clients, but they assign a unique identifier. And I actually had a conversation. One of the agents that I sent this to called me before I went live, and she was like, "What's this text?" And I was like, "Well, what does it say?" And so she read it. I was like, "Well, what's the question?" And she was like, "Well, I don't know." And then she was just, this was her question. What's the price? Because I'm trying to figure out who the client is. So I had to explain to her. I got to explain to her. Words matter. I got to explain to her, if you take the client ID that was in the text message and you go into Bright and you click on contacts and you put that into the search bar, it'll tell you who the contact is. And she was actually like excited. She's like, "Oh." And then she said, "Well, if you tell me the price, I know who it is." And I was like, "Okay, what's this price?" And she said, "Oh, okay." But it's useful for her moving forward. And I didn't even know that until recently. And this was probably me swiping this idea from someone else in my market that was doing it, because I didn't even know that was a way to, anyway. You can schedule through showing time if they'd like to check it out. So that was my scheduled. And notice it's process, gradually drip it out, 1 text every 1 minute. Could I blast them all at once? Sure. But in my experience, that's problematic for several reasons. Number one, you increase the likelihood that you hit some sort of trigger and it just kills the whole campaign. Number one. Number two, if you get a bunch of replies, you just get, it's just like you're bombarded with replies. And it's just like, and when you drip it out, it seems more like real life. And so the deliverability, in my experience, is better that way. That was the text, the email that I sent. Okay, so I'll show this and then I'll show what the actual email looks like. I didn't know that it doesn't preview the email here, but this is being sent batches of 5 every 5 minutes. You might actually be able to do smaller batches. I think you can do 1 every 5 minutes, but for whatever reason, they changed it to 5 minutes instead of 1 for the emails. I have no idea why. And so I don't want to, if I've got 100, I don't want to send 1 every 5 minutes because that'll take, I don't know, whatever the math is. I just want it to be, I want it to be dripped out, but I want it to be done, sooner than later. The email with that, I match the subject line to what it looks like in Bright if I were to send it through Bright, which is, well, why is it not showing the subject line? Where's the subject line? Details. Nope. Well, the subject line is reverse prospecting, and then the MLS ID number, it's like, in my market, it's like PAS something something. I don't know why. Oh, no. Hold on. That's wrong. That's not a most agents follow.
So Josh, you're using a custom field for that value, correct?
For what value?
For the value of the ID for the person when you're importing it.
Oh, yes. I choose business name, but then for whatever reason, the merge field is company name. I don't know why sometimes they don't match.
Remember, you can add custom fields yourself. You don't have to use what they give. You can add anything you want.
Yeah, I documented that because I did that Campbell on mine. So I've got a client ID if you want to get all detailed.
Yeah.
And I can share that with you if you want.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, you know how to do it.
Hold on. I don't know how. I'm not sure how all of these.
Josh, either I or James will help you if you need anything on that. We can show it to you quickly.
I'm just going to be honest. I don't care. I don't use it. I honestly, at this point, I only use this for this function because it's the only thing that for me is working to the degree that it makes sense. Okay, hold on. Here it is. This is the subject line. Reverse prospecting inquiry, because if I do it through Bright, that's the subject line that populates. So I want that to feel natural, like they're used to getting those, even though I'm not sending it through Bright. So it just makes it seem more natural. I do put a link to the MLS listing, and I merge the client ID there as well. And some agents just need a little nudge. Let's face it. Some are more motivated and on top of things than others. And I've had lots of instances where that little sequence gets someone who might not otherwise have reached out to their client to pay attention and see if they want to schedule a time to see it. And that's our job, right? For our clients is to leave no stone unturned to get as many showing requests and potential offers as we possibly can. All right.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered my question because those cash offer, to go back, the cash offers, I'm getting an email saying, hey, somebody requested a cash offer in high level. That's different than.
How is that different?
Then your monthly thing where you're just kind of fishing for trying to get people to go.
I know, that's why I gave you this one first. It looks like reaching out because we saw you requested an offer online for your property at street address. Is that right?
Oh, that's in there.
2 different docs.
Okay.
Or maybe I only dropped one. Maybe that's the problem. The cash offer leads follow-up is different than the naming of this. We need to improve also. But there's one that is, okay, so 2 different things. The one is a campaign to get anyone that you have an address and an email for to go and look at their dashboard. The first one I was addressing in your first question, this one here, is a campaign specifically for people that in some form or fashion have requested a cash offer. I built this specifically for Z buyer seller leads, motivatedsellers.com leads, etc. But it doesn't matter. It's anybody that requested a cash offer, it's applicable. Now, the other thing you can, could, should do if you're not getting many of them is just send them a 60-second or less Loom video. Hey, looks like you requested a cash offer. I thought I'd show you what those options look like and walk you through the dashboard here a little bit. And also, for most of our clients, what makes more sense if or whenever they're ready is our 7-day stress-free home sale. So if it's like a small number and they're actually taking the action, that's a real world example of going deep in a small pond than trying to go broad and shallow.
Okay, yeah, that's the answer I was looking for.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I get one, maybe a couple a week at the most or something. So I'll just jump on those.
That's what I would do, because they're already in your world, let's say, and they're taking a specific action to go and explore those offer options. And that video that you send them is solidifying the chances that whenever they're really ready to sell, they'll think of you first. So it's a seed worth planting, even if it's not going to be a sale or listing opportunity this month or this quarter, because if they're poking around, the data suggests, and I'll say suggests, out of 100 cash offer request leads, 3 to 5, and I would say it's probably on the lower end of that, maybe even 1 to 2, will actually proceed with a cash offer option, institutional buyer or local professional home buyer. And also, up to 50% or so will sell in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months. So why not be the one that they think of when the timing is right? Stuart, I would love a play-by-play review of what that phone conversation was, because there was a lot of this going on. It was great. It was great.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch this recording because I'm just 90% of it. One, I had to call it reinstated a contract last night.
Okay.
The guy terminated last week. So I had to call the appraiser and he's talking and talking. So that might have been it.
Yeah.
But then just a minute ago, the reason I raised my hand was totally off to this.
Well, I think, or I hope James is, at least at this point, there may be other questions that come up, but I was gonna pivot anyway. So go ahead.
I was going to say a little micro win just now on the other phone call I was just on, because I was sent out to out-of-state owners not too long ago, and the ones that didn't have an email or phone number or both or whatever, I actually put letters in the mail to them. And this guy just called me from New York. Today I got your letter. Unfortunately, the one that I sent, he didn't have, but he wanted to tell me about another property that unfortunately is on the market. So
Okay.
I'll look it up in the MLS. But I did ask him, do you trying to add to your portfolio?
Yeah.
He said, well, I got to sell this one first. But I mentioned a condo I have with a tenant in there. He said, oh, how much is the rent? Give me that address. So, at least the phone rang, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
So inadvertently, Stuart teed up something. I'm going to do a breaking news bonus live tomorrow morning. I don't normally do the Closers Cafe tomorrow morning because the thanks integration is set up, and it's even better than I had sort of thought or hoped it would be. I'll explain what that means for those that are using LeadDeck or thinking about using LeadDeck, and how quickly and easily you can do that. Now, I know I'm not going to convince Stuart to stop sending them by hand that way, but for those that want to be able to literally tap in following our theme of tapping your way to transactions, you can literally tap twice on any contact once it's set up, which literally takes seconds. And if you can't figure it out, we'll set it up for you. It takes seconds to tap twice, and a piece of mail of your choosing, it could be a letter, a postcard, a note card, or a sequence that you can send, will launch the very next morning. Just tap, tap, boom, on your way. So I'm going to do a separate standalone session on that because I think it merits it, number one. And number two, I'm going to use it today. So tomorrow morning, I can also show two things: how to tap and quickly, easily, and also what it looks like a day later once things have started to roll out.
I use thanks.oi every once in a while.
Okay. Well, you can hook it up that way. So you can hook it up that way. If you want to do that, it's there for you.
Yeah.
There's no
only
cost to
caution-
hook it up.
The biggest caution is verifying the names. And you've seen this, if you tap too quickly, it might say, hi, Smith, because the names are in there backwards instead
Yeah.
of the first name.
Yeah. That's a good point. We'll think through how to.
Or it may stick a middle name in there as well. or a
Oh, I
middle
know.
initial or something.
Remind me if you're on tomorrow. Remind me how you would address that if that happens. There's a very easy. It requires maybe an extra little step, but it literally would take 3 seconds and no cost.
I mean, even now when I do the emails, at some time, I've got to go in and change the name. So I'm so glad that Sean added the ability to edit it. So now you can put the first name first. And so when you tap to email out or text, it goes out that way.
Yeah. Next on my list, this is a text blast that I sent before we went live. I have not been doing a great job of using this functionality, which, if you're on Bold Trail, costs nothing. Which is sending a broadcast text message to whatever buckets. I don't know that I've sent one this calendar year, which is just foolish on my part. Maybe I did for the home value blast. I think I did once. Anyway, I sent this out this morning. All I did was I filtered buyer, new, prospect, active, has phone number, subscribe to text. And I also chose has email because all the freaking annoying spam calls that come into my smart number, they get tagged as whatever. And so you don't want to blast those numbers. Well, actually, here, I'll show everybody what I'm talking about. So if you're using Bold Trail, use this specifically. If you're not, I would still recommend you think through the logic here with whatever you are using. Whether you're using Sierra, Lofty, Follow Up Boss, Go High Level, whatever, the cleaner your data is before you blast them, the less problematic it is for you, right? Like if you're sending to dirty data and you're blasting it, you're asking for a problem. Either you're just going to waste your time because your blast will just get cut off, or worse, like they could just turn off your texting functionality or whatever. And if the data is cleaner, it likely means you will have to, you will get more from a smaller data set as well. So I'm going to clear this and just walk through real quick what that looks like in here. And again, if you're not using Bold Trail, just think about how would I apply this logic to whatever I'm using? Because there is some version of this that would be applicable for most of you anyway. So I went buyer, new, prospect, active. I didn't want to be texting my Sphere clients, under contract, whatever. And if I'm being honest, I don't do a good enough job of keeping those couple of buckets up to date as well as I should. But you can see here, I've got all of these phone numbers. These are mostly spam phone numbers. There's no name, there's no email. If I go and text blast these numbers, I'm wasting my time. And B, I'm increasing the likelihood that some problem is going to happen with my ability to send a text message. So the way I address that is I'll go to contact details. I want has phone, subscribe to SMS, meaning they haven't said stop or unsubscribe or whatever. Now, a bunch of people have since this text blast, and that's fine. That's good. I'm cleaning my data. and I will choose has email, because none of these spam calls would have an email associated with them. When I do that, the vast majority of the contacts that will remain on the list have a name. There we go. So 1829, that is about what I sent my text blast to. So I have it set to rows of 250, which means 8 times, I had to select all, choose text, paste in my template, and I also added in the link to, which for some reason it doesn't seem like it worked in some cases, maybe because I didn't check this all the time. And I sent that. So I would send that and I'd go to page 2. Yeah. I would then go to page 2. The most you can send at a time text blasting is 250. And you can do the same thing with email blasting. So you could do the sequence that I was referencing earlier with James, the home value sequence. You could do that this way. It's just that if you have thousands and thousands, I just would rather use the schedule a broadcast email tool. So that's how I sent out the message. The message that I sent is as follows. Very simply, just listed in Arcona, rare carriage home with 100K plus in upgrades. I should have put a $sign there, but whatever. Who do you know that might be interested? Who do you know that might be interested? People don't read, which is fine. But I have several people like, this one guy was like, that would be a downgrade for me. And I didn't respond this way, but I was thinking, Dan, did you read the message? Because I said, who do you know? I'm not asking if you're interested, but whatever. How much, price. So I sent I sent a link that has all the details. And then my next call to action, would it make sense to schedule a private tour tomorrow or this weekend? The other way I could say that, which was from earlier this week or last week, would you be totally opposed to scheduling a time to take a tour in person? I didn't use that one in this case. Would it make sense to? I think they're both good, but the would you be totally opposed is definitely a good one. So I got, and Doreen, I'll get you in a second here. I got a bunch of stops, but so far, I didn't see this one until now. So here's what I'm going to do. Hey, Wendy.
Hey, sorry I'm a little late calling. I was
All
on a
good.
meeting and it went longer.
Yeah, all good.
So tell me a little bit about this property.
Yeah, so he bought it a few years ago, and I'll just give you the Cliff's Notes version. He has since moved in with his significant other and doesn't have a need for it. For whatever reason, he had started a renovation on it, and they've now, they kind of left him hanging, and he just doesn't have, he just doesn't need it. He's not investment minded. It was never, he never bought it to be an investment. And so,
Okay. Yeah, because I was just like, I wasn't sure if something happened in there that he had to tear everything apart.
no, they were starting renovations, and then I think the company folded that he was using or something.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I was looking back on the last listing pictures and I'm like, well, it doesn't look that bad. I don't know what's going on here, why everything was tore up.
Yeah.
So he was just doing it to his laziness.
Yep. And I think the whole thing with this significant other happened during that time as well. So it kind of like, I don't know. It was just,
So now he's just trying to.
yeah, he just wants to punt on it. If your guy or gal is interested, I am happy to present anything. He has underlying debt on it, but he wants it gone, and I have no problem presenting any and all offers. And if they want to start with a verbal offer, I'll whatever makes sense. He would like to get it sold, and I'd like to help him sell it.
Sounds good. I will reach out to them today and see where they're at with that. And get back to you as soon as I have a little bit more information.
Perfect. And my apologies again yesterday. My phone was, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with my phone. Yep. Thanks, Wendy. Bye-bye. I wanted to take that because she had called me yesterday. My phone was on the fritz. I don't know what was going on with my phone. It started on the 11 a.m. session yesterday, and it was just acting goofy all day. And I didn't realize this morning that she had left me a voicemail. And as much as I give listing agents a hard time when I'm calling them, I don't want to be that agent myself. And so I texted her back this morning once I got my phone back working correctly, which I had to do like a software update and like rebooted. And I even had to like play around with it, whatever. Once I got it back working, I texted her and it was pretty early. And she said, I'll call you around 10. So I didn't want to leave her hanging again. And I do really want to help Danny get the property sold. So before Doreen goes, just because this is on my screen, please don't fall for these people. Anyone here? Don't fall for these. This is Leah. I have homeowners in Harrisburg looking to list. We vet for you, no ads cost, blah, blah, blah. Don't waste your time on these traps. Anyway, Doreen.
Hi, Josh. So going on the premise of, people don't read, could you start the text message with create the disruption? Who do you know?
Sure.
And then I have.
Yeah, if I did that, I would put it in
that?
parentheses. So I go, who do you know that might be interested? In parentheses, just listed. I love that idea.
Okay.
But also, like I even though I said I haven't done that in a while, usually
Right.
I do that pretty frequently. So I like to just mix it up. Even my deal of the week, the email, I mix up the way I structure the subject line. The subject line, generally speaking, the theme of the subject line remains constant. The exact structure, I play with the pieces.
Right.
So, but I think that's a great
I play
idea.
with things according, like I said, with the letter to the audience that I'm sending it to. So I always try to keep the end person in mind, the audience, and then I mix it up according to that.
Since you opened up that conversation, I'll loop back to earlier. The subject line, you could play with those pieces also. So you could start parentheses, RE off market 2 unit in Noblesville. And then say for Susan.
Right.
But as long as to me, what is more important is, do you have the pieces in there, right? So in that specific instance, the pieces of the puzzle are name, a hook of some kind, off market 2 unit, and location. Those are the 3 pieces that for the buyer emails you should always have. The seller one, for me, it's pretty much non-negotiable. You could interchange the location of them, but it's for James, RE street address. If you want to switch it and try that, RE street address, parentheses, for James. But those are the 2 puzzle pieces if I'm sending a message to a seller about their property. On the buyer side, I would want to have the 3 ingredients of their name, the location, and a hook of some kind. Like what's the deal, right? And short and punchy. Off market 2 unit, off market, income property, or off market income properties, kind of vague, but bank owned foreclosure deal. Good stuff. Okay, so back to real quick here, just a couple more things on this. When you do broadcasts like this, what you focus on expands. Do not focus on the stops and the unsubscribes. Who cares? They were most likely not going to work with you anyway, number 1. And also, number 2, sometimes they just don't want to hear from you on that channel. Meaning, I've done transactions where they unsubscribed from my automated text message. It didn't mean that they were unsubscribing from me. They just didn't want that style of communication in that inbox. So just because someone unsubscribes to your automated texts, do not delete them. Now, if they're unsubscribed to everything, I usually delete people. So if they're unsubscribed to email and text message, for example, that usually is a delete for me because I mean, I can't reach them. So what are we, what's the point? They're just taking up space in there at that point. And I want to open up that space. I want to open up the vacuum so that something, something better can fill that space. If anybody is using Bold Trail and I have a tutorial, I think I recorded this for James actually, of cleaning up your data. There's a logic tree that you can follow to clean out contacts that, I don't know, if you have a bunch of fully unsubscribed contacts in there, like what's the point? So you might as well clean them out because it does a couple of things. Number one, it's like cleaning your house. Okay, when you clean and organize your house, at least in my experience, then I'm more likely to want to keep it that way and keep it organized. And then I'm looking for what else can I organize and optimize, etc. It also gives you a more clear, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you more clearly see reality, how many actual active contacts you have in your database. Because you may think you've got all of this thing and you're thinking, well, why am I not doing more transactions? I've got all these contacts, et cetera. A, how are you engaging them? And B, how many of them are dead? And I don't mean like literally dead, but they're just sitting there. They're not getting your emails. They're not getting your text messages. So like, they're just taking up space. And there's a sequence that you can go through to do that. And I don't know, it'll take you 15 to 20 minutes to go through it. And it's something you probably want to do once a quarter, maybe once a month, depending on how many people you're adding to your database or your CRM on a regular basis. And this is another example or opportunity for me to share that the logic I have and the walkthrough I have is specific to Bold Trail, but it would likely be applicable to pretty much any platform. It's just a matter of figuring out what does that look like on that platform. All right, what else is on my list today here? All right. Here's what I'm gonna do time-wise. Okay, marathon session, but one other, I'm gonna return to Susan, if Susan is still here. Perfect. So another, I guess, scenario that Susan brought up yesterday is she has a card in her hand of a buyer looking for flip opportunities, properties that could be a good flip. And so, she was thinking or wondering how can she go and find those? And I thought that would be a good, let's just brainstorm and mastermind a little bit, like big picture. And then I'll also dive into LeadDeck and sort of detail how I would approach it with that. So you've got somebody who's looking for a flip. What would be the steps that you would take, or what would be strategies you might employ to find them a deal? Nobody? Well, number one, I would start with the MLS, and she might have already done that, but you never know. I've closed a number of transactions. Sorry, who was that?
I'm sorry, it's Doreen. Expireds.
So I would start with the actives, and then absolutely, I would look at expired and canceled. And it doesn't take you don't need a big bucket of them. And do not don't decide for the seller. Meaning, in the last few months, I've had several transactions that the listing agent pretty much told me, no way that's going to fly. And it flew. Because even a lot of times the listing agents don't actually know the level of motivation or what the motivation of the seller is. So you got to take your shot. I've gotten a bunch of properties, not a bunch. We have closed several transactions where we've gotten a discount of 15, 25, 30% off of the current list price. You never know unless you ask. Take your shot. So active and expired is where I would go first because it's openly inventory available. I would take a quick peek at for sale by owners. Are there any fixer-upper for sale by owners? There was an example I had a couple of weeks ago. I reached out to a for sale by owner. It was clearly a fixer-upper from the Zillow photos. They were asking 165. In one question, they dropped down to 110 or 115. Dropped 45 or 50,000 just by asking, what do you think is the best you could do? Like if I brought you a cash offer as is and we closed in 2 weeks, where do you think? And like that was not even pushing hard. If I brought them 100 and closed in 2 weeks, I don't know, maybe. Terrell.
So one of the things that I tell my students, the people that are getting ready, because I teach the pre-licensing courses for the state of California, is that one of the hardest things in this business is not overlaying our own expectations on our clients. And this is what you were saying is that we barely know our own backstory. So how in God's green earth are we going to know somebody else's backstory and what the magic's going to be? Because moment to moment, things change.
I was just going to say, you may have listed this property 60 days ago. And at that point, this was their life situation. And something may have happened last month, last week, or last night. And they're like, we're done with this. Yep. The next offer that is even remotely reasonable, we're ready to be gone. And you just never know.
It pays off the mortgage and fees. We're done.
Gone. The Wendy that I was talking to, I guarantee, I am fairly confident. If we get an offer that just makes him whole, he's done. Good. And when I first started talking to him, that number would have been 50,000 more. Now that's also the one that the pipes froze, is vacant and the pipes froze and whatever. So like some things have happened since then, but point is that's happening on listings all over your town right now. You just don't know. So don't assume. Your job is to facilitate and negotiate. That's it. I consume a lot of content from wholesalers. A phrase that I hear from a guy that I really like in our business, when he's talking with a seller, that is relevant here. It's not like one-to-one, but it's relevant. I can only tell you what we can pay for your property. I'm not telling you what you should sell it for. I can tell you so look, I'm not saying that you should accept this offer. All I'm telling you is this is an offer we have in hand. Ultimately, it's your decision. This doc, I haven't referenced this in a while, but this document has a whole bunch of ideas as well, including one of the ideas that I thought, is relevant for this conversation, which Susan, looking for the wholesalers in your market that have inventory. And you can find them in Facebook groups. You can find them on Investor Lift. Yeah, Investor Lift. You can find or potentially find off-market inventory. In fact, I'm curious if there is any in Hamilton County. You could also you could also use the flipper target in LeadDeck. So where I'm going next is I'm going to, I'm going to get more specific into how I would pull
That's
targets in
Ohio,
LeadDeck. Yeah, why is it doing
not in
Ohio? Oh, Hamilton County, Ohio.
Indiana.
Why is it not doing? Huh? Is that
Those
not?
are just cities. It's not.
Oh, there
putting
we go.
It's
There
not
we
giving
go.
you counties.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So there may or may not be any on here, but I'll relate this back to something I had shared a couple of weeks ago. Earmarking a day a week to spend a little bit of time connecting with the wholesalers, the professional home buyers, et cetera, that are in your market, not the institutional buyers that you get with fast cash offers, and different from the cash buyers in LeadDeck, like the pros. In my market, the Eric buys houses, the Integrity First home buyers, and just establishing a relationship with them, because just like listing agents that have a lot of inventory, the pros in your market, they get to like dispositioning a property, which is listing a property. Like it requires work. Now, if it's a good enough deal, usually it's easier, but like you still have to do the work. And there are lots of wholesalers or that type of home buyer that are really good at getting the deal, but not great at selling the deal. And if you can be a solution in those scenarios, you might be able to pick up a couple of extra transactions a year just from one relationship. So it's worth exploring. Well, actually, before I even get to the seller targets, let's look at. I think you told me where was he? Where was this fella looking for deals?
He's also in Noblesville.
Noblesville. Wow, that's a lot. For those that are curious, these targets, these flipper targets, it's usually one of three things. It is wholesalers that are doing double closings. So they're buying it and selling it the same day and making the spread. So instead of assigning it, so they lock it up for 100 and they assign it for a fee of 10 or 20 or 25,000. They don't want, or they want to try and hide how much they're making on the deal. They'll do a double closing. It is also people that buy it, maybe just clean it out and put it back on the market 2 weeks, a month later, and they're trying to make a spread. And it is also the ones that are doing the full renovations. They buy it, they fully renovate it, and they sell it back on the market. In other words, there are companies or individuals who bought and sold the same property in the last 12-month window in Noblesville. That's a lot. You might set a goal, Susan, of reaching out to 5 of these a day until you exhaust that list. CJ's script for these folks is, I laugh because it just makes me smile, but it's, hey, Terrell, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Are you still in the real estate game? And they just start talking. Much like the other active buyer sets in here, these folks are more predisposed to talk on the phone because they have been conditioned that phone conversations equals money. Phone conversations equals money. Most business people, not all, but most, understand, especially in a high dollar transaction like real estate is, that phone conversations equal money. So I would check with them, and you'd be using the no tree. Do you have any inventory right now that you're looking to sell? are you looking to buy right now? I guess with them, that would be the main, because we wouldn't necessarily be reaching out to the flippers about a specific property, although you might, because part of the AI search will pull back data. You might find that they have a website where they put their off-market deals or something along those lines. But I would go, do you have any off-market inventory you're looking to sell right now, or you need help selling right now? And are you looking to buy, right? So you can be adding people to one of two hands there. So Noblesville, what would you say, Susan, max value? If I was going to flip a property, what would my max AVM value, right? Because the AVM is going to assume a renovated property.
It's about 400 to 450.
So I'm just going to go max 450. And we've got single family. Do you have a sense of if like older properties would be a deal breaker, or?
He wanted after 1950, but I'm sure if it was a good deal, he'd go.
Well, we'll start here. And I'm going to leave the bedrooms open, because if he's looking to flip or value add, there might be, if you get a good enough deal, you can add a bedroom, you can do, you can get kind of creative there. So let's just see what we have with this. So 97 tired, 162 out of state, a lot of involuntary liens. You may have already done this, but immediately where I would go is I would stack out of state with involuntary. And that's 13. And I would absolutely call, text, email, and direct mail those. I would start there. Then I would go, I don't know. I might stack out of state, free and clear. Wow. Out of state, free and clear is 56. I wonder what happens if I do this. Oh, please select 2. Oh, exactly 2. I think we took away the ability to do 3, because people would do 3. And in most cases, if you stack 3, it's going to be 0 or very, very low number. Where would I go next? I would probably, I don't know, I might go inherited involuntary lien, 24. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good audience. There's only 6 tax default. I wonder why that is. Seems odd. I'd hit up the 6 tax default. I mean, that's a small list. We stacked inherited. Okay, so here's where I would go. I'd go out of state stacked with involuntary. I'd go out of state stacked with free and clear. I'd go inherited stacked with involuntary. And then I would probably, I'd hit up vacant and the rest of the inherited. That's going to get you a total of probably 100 to 150. When you take into account that as you add them to decks, they won't show up in a, as you ladder your way up. If they were caught in a lower deck, they won't show up again. So you're going to have, those numbers are going to be lower as you work your way up than the projected, because they'll have already shown up in another deck. And the communication I would send would be our standard message. Hi, Susan, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Is there any chance you'd consider selling your property at street address to a private client of mine this winter or spring? I wouldn't bring up that they're looking for a flip and that they're a cash buyer, et cetera, because that then creates a assumption, or they will create a picture in their brain of what they think this looks like. And you can pivot any number of ways because you have this person that is looking for flips. You also have institutional buyers that you can run anybody that says a yes to against. And you likely have retail buyers in Noblesville, in your Bold Trail or somewhere that might be interested if it was a retail type property. So you have any number of ways that you can pivot once they say yes, and you're looking for a needle in a haystack for that specific client. It doesn't mean you can't find that for them. It just means you are much more likely to uncover loads more opportunity for yourself before you actually find him the thing he wants. So we go on the hunt for the thing he wants, and in that pursuit, you will uncover a whole bunch more gold or potential gold in that pursuit. And then eventually, sooner than later, you find what he, what might best fit what he's looking for. Or you never know. Tomorrow you reach out and you find, there may be a wholesaler in your market right now that just has one that it's not, it's not been a high priority for them to dispo, and you never know. But until you take the shots, we just don't know what may happen. Questions from Susan or anyone related to that before I have one last thing that I got to do anyway. So, you guys are obviously, I'm not holding you here against your will. so you're welcome to stay and hang out. Does that help, Susan? I will clip that and also send that to you with the chunking of, this target, then this, then this, then this. So, you can go through that if you so choose.
Yeah, I only have one question because I've sent out that, is there any chance, and you talk about semantics. I think, I don't know, I always want to change that, would you consider selling?
Go
Does
ahead.
it matter?
Yeah, I've used both of those have worked.
Okay.
Both of those has worked. Yeah, both of those have worked. I'm glad you're bringing this up, okay? Because you could, the ingredients are as follows: personalized, their specific property street address, and a question. Would you be totally opposed to receiving an offer on your property at street address? Would you be interested, or would you consider selling your property at street address? Is there any chance you'd consider selling? All of those work. That would be an example of whatever you feel best fits your vernacular. That's not going to be drastically impacting the replies either way. What will is if it's too generic otherwise. If you just said, I'm going to go the extreme other side. If I send a message, hi, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Would you consider selling your property to a private client of mine? ? If you sent enough of those, someone might reply. But if I say, hi, Susan, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Is there any chance, or what was your phrase that you wanted to use?
Would you consider selling?
Would you consider selling your property at street address to a private client of mine in the next 30 to 90 days or less? The non-negotiables are personalization of name and property address and asking a direct question. How you frame that question, there's probably 5 variations that all work. Use what feels right to you. And also, if you do 100 and you think, I wonder what would happen if I try a different variation of this for the next 100. But where we maybe make mistakes is we do 5 and then we do another one. And then we do 10 of that and then we switch it again. And then we do 15 of that one and then we switch it again. Pick what feels right and comfortable and make it as specific and relevant as possible. Except in this case, so in this case, I would not include he's a flipper and he wants, he's looking for a deal, right? But if it were a retail buyer, the example yesterday that I was using, she's looking for a 4-bedroom in this school district, and we just haven't found what she's looking for yet. Like that doesn't scream like looking for a deal, whatever. So use discretion with that part of it. But as long as you have the personalization and the direct question, I think you're good to use whatever feels most like your communication style, I guess, or vernacular. Stuart.
Out of state guys, do you ever add in the city as well? I started doing that in case they have stuff all over the country and go, oh crap, where's that one? I mean, they'll probably know what the property address is, but so it's 123 Main Street in McDonough.
Yeah, I mean, I could go either way on that. I don't know that would have a drastic. If you've got a guy that's got that many, him asking where is great. So I could go either way on it, but if he doesn't know, then I'm like, I might just call him. If he says which one, that might be an immediate, well, how many you got? Where do you have properties that, so I don't think there's anything harm. There's no harm in that where I think the point of diminishing returns for me is if it's the full address, because then it seems spammy. If it's, hey, Stuart, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Is there any chance you'd consider selling 5805 Fall Meadow Lane in Enola, PA, 17025 USA? Then it's like, bot, spam, right? But 5805 Fall Meadow Lane in Enola, yeah, I mean, I could go either way on it. It's not gonna hurt things. Okay, one last thing, I think anyway, at this point. Paul, I will definitely, for anyone here, the replay tomorrow, the replay that you can find tomorrow or later today, it's at leaddeck.ai/closures. I will make sure that the Bold Trail cleanup protocol is in there, as well as the other resources that I've shared. So last thing, and I'm going to have to make this the last thing. I posted, okay, so this was my post earlier in the week of a coming soon listing, and it's now live, so I want to post it again. I did a little different media just because, I don't know, I just like trying different stuff. This is a Matterport. All I did is, this is what it looks like if I open the Matterport link in homes.com for this property. So all I did was I turned Loom on, I opened the link, and Loom just recorded this zoom in. I now remember why I did this. I like to do the fly-in thing with Google Earth that I showed recently. So you use the Google Earth Studio. If I did that, it would just look like dirt because for whatever reason, the Google map view of this area hasn't been updated. It's like from 2020, I guess. It must be somewhere around then. And so if I choose that, it would have made no sense. It would have just been like zooming into a pile of dirt. And I wanted something to like grab people's attention and be a pattern interrupt. And so that's what made sense, at least in the moment, in my example, or in my head there. So I'm going to log into listings and leads. and the listing was automatically fed in, but if it wasn't, you can pull it in. But this was my listing, and it was pulled in automatically when it went live overnight. I'm going to change that little thing there. Go to market. I used, while this is loading, I forget how many weeks ago, and now that I'm referencing again, I'll include this with the replay also. But a few weeks ago, I referenced 2 resources on stale listings. And one of those had prompts from Jimmy Burgess. And I used that prompt. Now, this isn't a stale listing. This is a new listing. But I used the prompt to give me, or I asked it to give me an AEO or SEO optimized version of the description of the property. And it gave me 3. I used this one. I just tweaked it to coming soon. I'm going to use this variation today. Probably not as many hashtags. I don't know why it's like a bazillion hashtags. But, you know, and I'll tweak some of this, but it's just like a shortcut. And so I'm going to use that here. Okay, so edit. Oh, no. Edit the image first. Just listed in Mechanicsburg, Arcona, the community. I don't know why I put that because it won't even fit there, but whatever. I'm going to download the Facebook version. Download the Instagram version. Okay. Now I'm going to go here. Alternate text. I don't even know what the alt text is for Instagram. Well, I'm just going to copy this here. For whatever reason, when you copy down, up, starting at the bottom and working up tends to work better. I don't know why that is. Upgraded Arcona Stunner with Maymore Street. Mechanicsburg. I'm gonna hashtag this here. Mechanicsburg, PA. I'm gonna hashtag Arcona. Let's see here. Text 1130 to, this is the smart code that I set up. For price, all photos and 3D virtual tour. 3D virtual tour. Just text. Or shoot me a DM. Then I'm going to add this here. Add that. Add in my email because some people, I've had people email me from social posts because for whatever reason, like in their brain, that was like, that's what they wanted to do. I'm actually going to copy this and I'm going to go to Facebook. Switch to this. Okay, now I'm gonna Kona, oops, Kingsburg. Get rid of these here. I don't know why it's suggesting this many. Actually, you know, I don't normally do this many, so I'll give it a whirl. Maybe it'll help. I'm for whatever reason when you paste them in, it doesn't like activate them. I guess I should figure out will it work? Like, does it highlight them? I think I have looked up before that if you don't actually get them to be highlighted, it doesn't actually highlight them when you post them. And I think they just don't want people like keyword stuffing or hashtag stuffing, I guess. I guess I'll go PA real estate. Why not? I'll do real estate agent. Whoops. And listing agent. There we go. Okay, copy. I'm going to, because this gets posted on, oh shoot. Actually, I'm not going to use that one. It's cut off. I forgot that I need a geotag, etc. So let me. All right. So I'm geotagging and adding keywords. I'm going to geotag the specific address. So then it adds it there. It's just another signal to SEO, AEO, etc. Arcona, Carriage, Home, House, Mechanicsburg, PA. Maintenance-free living. Main floor living. Primary suite on main, listing agent, real estate agent, realtor, realty. That's probably good enough. And then I'm going to do that on both of the images. So I edited them. Now I got to drop them back here. There they are. I'm going to use, I don't like the way the square one looks because it's cutting off the actual front door. So I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use this one. There we go. I'm going to tag I tag my personal profile and my other page that got banned or ghosted or whatever by Facebook. I'm just reading through this to make sure it all checks out and makes sense. Okay, next. And I'm going to post that. While I am posting that, you know what? Next week, I still haven't done this. Wendy had recommended on Nextdoor using my business page, because you can do a business page on Nextdoor also. And I have one. I just haven't been using it. So next week I'm gonna figure that out. And it's just figuring out which login is associated with which. Let's see here. Got that. Anyone? And then go to Google. I can't wait to help these folks sell this place because they will give me a rave review. Oh, shoot. How do I see the lander? Let's see here. Oops. The call to action I'm using on Nextdoor and on Facebook and Instagram is to text a specific number or DM me. On Google, I'm going to use this link. I could use the call to action to call me, but I'm going to say for all blah, 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 just tap learn more below. That's good. And then last step is I'm going to go to my personal profile on my phone. Actually, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to start, I'm logged into my page, the page that I posted it on, and I'm going to share that to the story on my page. I don't really love the way it's clipping it, but whatever. Then I'm going to switch to my personal profile. Okay, so now I'm currently using it as this, and I'm going to switch to my personal profile. And then I need to search and find I gotta look for my page, and there's my post. So that's I'm going to tap on my actual page. So I'm searching for my page from my personal profile. And there's the post. That's what I was looking for. So I'm going to share that to my personal story. And then I'm going to share it into groups. And I'm going to choose anything Mechanicsburg related to start. So I have 6 Mechanicsburg related ones. Then I'm going to go Cumberland County. And only one of those. It's, oh no, two of them that is relevant. And then, oh, I can do two more. So then I'm going to do Central PA. Because you can share to 10 groups at a time. And so I'm going to do that one and that one. Oh, I must have, okay. Not that one. When you hit the 10, it'll say you've reached the limit for sharing. Done. Next. And who do you know that might be interested? And I'm going to put a little emoji at the front, the emoji. And then an emoji arrow down. Boom. Share. Now, I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. When you do this kind of work, make sure that you take the work and monetize the sawdust. That's how I'm going to describe it. In other words, whether or not I generate any leads, prospects, clients from that work, which obviously I would love for that to happen. Like ideally, I would love for the buyer for the property to come from what I just did. In reality, it's unlikely. Does it happen? Sometimes. If you do it on if that's part of what you do for every one of your listings, some number greater than 0 over time, that will actually happen. Number 2, even if it doesn't come to me, what I know with certainty is people will see that already have a working relationship with a realtor, and they'll go and say, hey, can we go look at this one? Good for my seller. And also document for that client and future clients, this is part of what I do. So when I send Joe and Olga their update on Tuesday, I will document and demonstrate the things that I've done since this past Tuesday, which I even sent them an update when it was coming soon. Hey, we're off to a good start. It's got this much activity online. We have a couple of showing requests already, yada, yada, yada. Next Tuesday, I'm going to show them everything that I've done. And also, I'm going to use the fact that I do this work when I'm making proposals to other sellers who might want to list with me. So it's not a listing presentation. This is part of my proposal for how we're going to get your home sold. And this is just one of a number of things that we do to get as many people possible to see your property. Because to a certain degree, it is a math equation. If we get a certain number of eyeballs, that will lead to a certain number of showing requests. That will lead to a certain number of offers. And when we have offers, you're in the driver's seat versus when we have an offer, single. We lose our leverage. This might be the longest Closers Cafe on record. I don't know. Anybody have anything else for the good of the group before I finally hit stop share?
Josh, just curious on your social spots. Could you send those to us so that we sort of monitor what you're putting out there?
What the post I just did?
Yeah, like where's that going on? Like I know you've got multiple Facebook things and.
Yeah. What would be the best way to? I I mean, you can follow my Josh Shanley EXP Realty page because all of the posts that I make like that go to that. It's Josh Shanley -EXP Realty is, well, here, I'll drop that in the chat for now.
All right, cool.
I'm trying to think if there's another way that might be whatever. But if you follow that page, you should see notifications. And also, anybody watching this, if we're not friends on Facebook, like we should be friends on Facebook. I like to see your stuff. I like to, you know, encourage you all when you get a win or you have success or whatever. So if we're not, most of us are, but if we're not, certainly, you know, let's connect on there. And then this is the page, that process that I just did, that is the page where I do that.
Okay.
I don't love the short URL for it at this point, but whatever. It is what it is. The Josh Shanley EXP Realty, if you go to facebook.com/Josh Shanley EXP Realty, is the one that Facebook slapped. Like I can't run ads on it. I don't know why. But so I share it, I tag that page, but I post to the one that I posted to and I shared in the chat because that one I can run ads on. And I don't run ads on everything that I post, but like I want to have the ability to be able to just quickly, you know, if I want to just boost or throw some extra eyeballs on something, it's just easy to do that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I do, so that exact posting, every time I do that, I will post there being Facebook page. I will post on Nextdoor and I will post it to my Google business profile. You have to tweak it slightly for the Google business profile to be compliant because you can't have phone numbers or emails, etc., in the description when you're making a post there, which is why I had tweaked it. And you can add a button which sends them to a page. If you don't have listings to lead, just send them to your single property page in Bold Trail or whatever you do have access to. I mean, you could send them to a link to your MLS page for it. It's not going to turn into leads, but at least the people will, you know, someone would get that. And if somebody's interested enough, motivated enough, they'll call or text you or DM you or whatever.
And that telephone number that you use, kind of your ghost telephone number, does that go straight to your CRM? Or
That is my smart number with Bold Trail. So that is a number that I own that all the leads go to. It also rings me. So if someone calls that number, it rings my cell phone. And I can, right. And if someone, please don't do this. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't really harm. You could text this. If you text 1130, that's a smart number. That's a smart code that is set up specifically for this property. So when someone texts 1130 to that number, it gets an auto reply that at least right now, I think has the MLS link because that link has the photos and the virtual tour. And it was just the easiest thing for me to set up and deliver for folks, which is not where the money happens. The money is when someone messages is to follow up with them.
Sure.
Later in the day or the next morning. And I think I've had 2 that texted from my post earlier this week, which is not a lot, but 5 of those, generally speaking, 1 out of every 5 of a lead like that is a client. It's not somebody, you know, cold email opting in on the internet.
Yeah.
If someone's texting you, that's a high intent lead. And I would say, generally speaking, 1 out of 5, worst case scenario, 1 out of 10 of those, as long as you don't drop the ball, will turn into a client in some form or fashion. And I shared this script earlier, but I'll reiterate it here. Any leads that you get from a specific listing, your listing, or if you have permission and you're marketing someone else's listing, the script that I have found to be most effective, and I use it most often with leads that I get from homes.com or Zillow or Realtor that are my listings. So I'm not paying for those leads, but they're going and finding my property or my listing. Now I'm saying my listing. Our listing. In this case, my listing is appropriate because I'm just talking with you all, okay? But on that listing, if they go and find that listing and they request more information, that's where I sort of was playing with the scripting because I wasn't able to get people to reply. And I'm thinking like, why is this not working? And the script I started using is, hey, David, it's Josh with eXp Realty. Looks like you had requested more info about our listing at street address. Did you get all the info you were looking for? ? And that's it. And I will send that as a text. I will send that as an email. And when I call them, that's exactly what I'm saying. Hey, David, this is Josh with eXp Realty. This is just a service, or this is, I don't even say this is just a service call. Hey, this is Josh with eXp Realty. The reason for my call is it looks like you had requested info for our listing at street address, and I just wanted to make sure you got all the info you were looking for. Or, as I'm saying that, I do sometimes say it a little differently. I will say, is that right? It looks like you had requested info for our listing at street address. Is that right? Yes. Great. Did you get all the info you were looking for? Yes, no, maybe so. And those conversations have been very, very fruitful. I had one, I think it's documented on this. In October, I called one of those live on one of my listings, on a listing. I'm like trying to break my own language pattern. And I called her and we ended up having like a 20 to 25 minute conversation. I sold her parents' ranch house. We sold it off market and they bought another one. So that was a call on a little manufactured home listing that turned into, I don't know, 18,000 in GCI or 20,000 in GCI or something like that, just by asking that question. Hey, Heidi, it's Josh. Looks like you had requested info for our listing at street address. Is that right? And then did you get all the info? And then she just, she just took off.
Cool.
Yep.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
You bet. Anybody else? I can't believe nothing broke. I can't believe my Wi-Fi held and like nothing blew up because it's two hours in. So tomorrow morning, I am going to add a session for those interested with some breaking news. While we were on here, Sean texted me about what I'm going to share tomorrow. Sean texted, bro, postcards are done and working brilliantly. So I'm going to play with it this afternoon. I will share it then tomorrow, how that works. And for any of you that want to use that, how you can link that up. And literally, if you're in a lead, if you're looking at a card, using our vernacular, if you're looking at a card, I'll tease what it'll look like. Let me find, I'm logged in here somewhere on here. If I'm in a deck, I'm in a deck here, and I'm going to find a seller deck. I'm looking at a card. So I open this specific card. Whoops, I opened the notes. I open this specific card. I will be able to tap right here. It's grayed out because I haven't set it up yet, but I'll be able to tap. I'll have to tap one more time and it will send that into thanks, and direct mail will go out next morning. And it could be a single piece, meaning, just one letter or just one postcard or one note card, or you could put them on a campaign where they get a letter that goes out tomorrow, and they get a postcard that goes out 10 days from now, and they get a note card that goes out 30 days from now. And you could even set it up so that after that, they get the monthly AI newsletter postcard once a month until you take them off of that. You don't have to do any of that. I'm saying you can do any and all of that. So it could just be a single, one-off, or you could put them on a campaign. Or you could set it up like I have it, where I send them a campaign. If they scan any of the QR codes from that, then they get added to my monthly, and I don't even have to think about it. So they scan it, they get added, and they'll just continue to they'll see me in their mailbox until they tell me to buzz off, or I help them with whatever they need help with. So that'll be fun. I'm excited to share. I'm excited to test it. And it'll be the same time. I'll just add the session. David, go ahead.
Same start time?
Yeah, same time, same link and everything. I just have to go and add back the session, but it'll be same time, same link, and I'll notify everybody as well. And if you miss it, I mean, if you miss it, the replay will be available later in the day.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, Josh.
Oh, also one other programming note, quote unquote, noon tomorrow is our weekly live demo and Q&A for anyone interested. Any existing Founders Club members or LeadDeck users are welcome. And if you're LeadDeck curious, you can come check it out and get more info as well. You can find all of our sort of weekly sessions and replays at leaddeck.ai/cal for calendar, CAL, leaddeck.ai/CAL.
And we're doing a sprint starting Monday, right?
Yes, listings. Oh, okay. So listing sprint starting Monday. Module 0 will be released. If it's not already, it'll be released today. And it's laying the foundation. And it's pretty good. It's really simple, but it's pretty good. And I think it's going to help some. I think it will help people get over conscious or unconscious limiters that are keeping them from actually implementing. I'll just leave it at that. And so that should be good. We're going to release a couple more like little bite-sized tutorials, and then the day one action plan will be released Monday morning, and then we have the live Q&A Zooms Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All of that is in the members area. Aaron, thank you. Yes, you can sign up. Aaron, doing my job for me. You can go to leaddeck.ai/get listings. Leaddeck.ai/get listings. Aaron, you should sign up. You will absolutely crush this. Crush it. Aaron's awesome. Okay, there you have it. Thanks, everybody. Alexa, volume up 1.